and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
And my name is Mark.
You're like, are you okay?
Look, I know we haven't done this in a little while, but you gotta get your shit together, man.
A little gruff. It's like a little throaty today.
John just smoked his pack for the day. He was like, excuse him. Anyway,
and I'm John. There you go. It's better.
I was glad I wasn't the only one who heard it. Because I was like, did John just sound like a 70-year-old man, or was it me? Okay.
Listen to your league lore, honey.
Stop it. Oh no. Okay. Today we're just talking about Jhin.
Yeah.
Just Jhin. It's exciting.
No title.
No,
just Jhin.
The Virtuoso Jhin.
Yeah.
He was released February 1st, 2016. Yeah. It's kind of nice to go back to our regular schedule.
Yeah. We gotta come down off the arcane high, but it's
yeah.
Which also, nice little spin-off, Arcane High. Everyone's, well, I guess they're already teams, aren't they? But
oh, I would love that.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Yeah. So on the universe page, Jhin has a bio, short story, and his champion teaser, which was called Bind of the Virtuoso, which I don't think I've ever actually seen. I watched it today, and it didn't look familiar.
It was, I feel like, I could be remembering this wrong, but I feel like when it came out, it was a bunch of individual clips, like the clips that they show in Mind of the Virtuoso. I feel like I remember you'd go to a certain page and you'd see like one of those clips, and then you go to a different page and you'd see one of them, and then they released the video of just all of them back to back. I could be remembering this wrong, but I swear I remember that happening.
Well, I do remember there was as a part of the kind of teasing of him, there were certain champions when you went and looked at them on, gosh, I don't think it was Universe. Maybe it was like the Champions page. Like Garen, I remember was one, and maybe Sona, where it would have like a weird sort of like a crosshair or like a weird effect on them.
Yeah, that for sure happened.
Yeah, I don't know if it was tied to that or what.
I think part of it too, like if you watch that, like, you know how you get the same musical sting every single time, which seems very weird for a Riot thing to just like repeat one musical sting over and over again over a bunch of different animations. And I think that was why. I think it was like you were seeing them like one at a time, and then the video was just them all put together. The
other thing that might have played with this is I think Riot ran into some issues with like age ratings in certain regions that they publish in when this came out, or when at least some of these things came out, because specifically, you know, there's like that image of like is it butterflies or something, like kind of breath leaving?
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of handled as like, oh, you're portraying smoking, which can totally fuck with the age rating depending on the region and how they handle it. So maybe it got taken down periodically, or they had to twist it around in certain places. I don't know. Maybe that played some havoc too. But
oh, weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not the other things about Jhin.
Right?
Those were all fine.
Yeah,
Jhin,
you know.
I suspect, is got to be one of the most violent of the champions.
Yeah.
He's probably up there for sure.
Yes.
Especially given the champions that we know about.
That's true. From what we've gotten so far, a lot of the people kill for like a purpose beyond just like, it's for funsies, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't have the highest body count, but he sure takes the most pleasure in it.
Yeah.
I think it's that, and it's certainly maybe dark even, less so much like raw violence, but, you know, because I'm sure you could look at someone like, I want to say like Fiddlesticks or maybe Aurelion Sol, like people like you said who have high body counts, but with Jhin, because he's just a guy, it's very grounded, and I think that makes all the violence a lot more, like I said, dark kind of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which we'll actually touch upon in some of his stories.
Yeah. He's also got comics. You mentioned that they're not linked on his page, but he's in the Zed comic a bunch.
Oh, yeah. We did kind of talk about that quite a bit with Akali even, right? Because Akali also helps hunt down Jhin.
It's funny that we're going to have talked about the Zed comics about 5 times before we get to Zed.
We'll be done with them. Hopefully there'll be a sequel by the time we get to Zed. Because, he's not. But anyway,
Yeah.
I've always been interested in Jhin because he reminds me of Cohen from BioShock, which is one of my favorite, my favorite game probably. And one of my favorite parts of the game is when you're dealing with him. It's just so out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's so creepy and wonderful. Yeah.
Can I just say, this just occurred to me this very second, but I'm a little bummed that we have Z champions after Zed, because there was really an opportunity here for us to go through champions A through Zed.
Oh. We could just stop at Zed. Just, fuck Zyra.
No! My main is Syra.
Oh, man.
Rude.
So do we want to hop into the impressions?
Oh, yeah, I'll do mine real quick. 1. That's it.
No. He would never leave it at
When
1.
you shoot once, he says 1.
2, 3, 4.
I know, we got to finish it up.
Right.
Otherwise,
He's gonna come out of the walls. That's
that's how Jhin works.
where he crawls out of the mirror if you don't finish counting to 4.
Right. I found him to be really hard. I was practicing. I was like, I cannot fucking do it at all. But I do like his one line. It's like, smiles, everyone. Smiles.
I envy silence, for I must be loud.
That was your bedroom voice. No.
Or alternatively, the stage is beneath my talent, but I will elevate it.
Wow, that fucking ego, right? Performers, if you've ever been involved in
I
theater.
know.
Right.
Gosh.
Glee Club, am I right?
I was stage crew, so like
Killing Spree Club, am I right?
So yeah, that's why he would be great for Arcane High. I'm telling you, he would be the drama teacher.
Or he'd be that student who thinks that they're like a professional actor already.
Yeah,
you know?
you're right. Actually, that's what he would be.
What's her name? Sharpay from
From High School Musical.
That one.
I think that was a cut. Mark, he's shaking his head. No, he's not seen High School Musical.
What are you talking about? Whatever.
What's great is that we've seen High School Musical both for the first time within the last year. This isn't like a high school time for us. Anyway, I only have notes for the bio if we want to get into that first.
Hit it up.
Yeah, light it up.
Oh, damn. Okay. Y'all are really hyping me.
Light it up. Light it up.
So Jhin is a legend unknown, passed all around Ionia, which I didn't understand because the bitch is still alive and he gets out. I don't understand why this was there, but okay.
I think I will say I did think it was funny that the very first line is the legend of the Golden Demon is known to every. I like it more than almost any other instance of a legend type champion, because for him there's a purpose to it, right? And they kind of go into that in the bio a little.
Yeah. Like Mark said, he was first known as the Golden Demon, a monster who slaughtered his way around Ionia. So Grandmaster Kusho, who is Shen's father, and Shen and Zed, they're kind of Kusho's adopted son, all team up to hunt this demon, which ended up being a very grueling task. And after 4 years, they're all a little changed. And I laughed because it said Shen was once known for his wit and humor. And I was like, please, can I see that,
Right.
Shen?
I want to hear them mad ass Shen jokes.
Right. That was great. So eventually, because of the patterns emerging, Kusho begins to suspect that they are hunting a human or Vestaya, not an actual demon. So they trap Jhin by blending in with the crowd on the eve of the Spirit Blossom Festival. They don't really say what the trap was, just that it was carefully prepared. It's a carefully prepared trap, and then they get him. But they catch him, and we find out his name here. Well, they drop his full name here for the first time, I'm pretty sure. Kata Jhin. He was a stagehand with the traveling theater.
Yeah.
I really liked that detail. I'd also love to see just what is he like, just as the stagehand with the traveling theater. What do people think of? Are they like a regular serial killer? They're like, he seems so normal. He was always so nice to me.
Very quiet,
Yeah, he was really quiet.
Bit of a smell coming
himself.
from his room. I mean, to be fair, I think. Gosh, is it the?
He insists on having 4 copies of every prop. It's infuriating.
Okay. Anyway, Kusho insists on not killing Jhin. I'm just so frustrated by these decisions all the time because he's Batman, I guess. Anyway, this kind of starts some of Zed's resentment and eventual betrayal, but we'll get to that in like 3 years. So they instead imprison him in Tula.
Yep, sounds right.
Nailed it.
Tuul. There's another U in there. They threw me off. Anyway, he learns from monks they're unable to make him not be a serial killer anymore.
Yeah, they try and have him do like art therapy. Like, give him dance lessons, see if that'll work.
Yeah.
We couldn't unpsycho him. Sorry.
Yeah. He ends up getting freed after the war with Noxus and gets like a new sponsor for his murders. No one's really sure who this is, but Jhin now has access to weapons and unlimited funds to murder his way around Ionia and even Piltover and Zaun. Please put him in Arcane.
Yeah. I like Jhin level threats a lot. They're very much like, they're kind of like Silco level threats to me. Like they're real threats. They're causing real problems. They're killing people. They're like, they need to be stopped. But they don't have the power to blow up the literal world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely agree. He's not heralding the coming of some horrible fucking thing. He is the horrible thing, right? But at the end of the day, yeah.
Yes.
Worst case, he blows up a town. And that's about the extent of what he can do.
He just likes to do his fancy pew-pews. He's fine.
Wow, tell that to the victims' families, John.
Although I do wish that his bio had been more about him and less about the people chasing him.
Yeah, it was really about Shen and Zed. I feel like so many, even Akali's stories kind of felt like it was just setting up the Shen and Zed rivalry. And I'm like, I care about Akali right now. And in this instance,
like, I
give
really
me Jhin.
Care about Jhin.
Yeah. Even his short story, which we'll get to, it starts with Jin's point of view, which was great, and then we jump to fucking Shen's point of view. I don't care.
Yeah.
We've gotten Shen's point of view in like 3 different stories now, and the parts where they had Jin's point of view in that story, so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I want more of that shit.
Shen's point of view, no wit, no humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's
just
what.
There.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's like the first note I have. Is like, I wish this was much more about Jhin because he's so cool. He's such a, like you said, very very Cohen, and Cohen's it's a neat kind of trope, and I would like more of it. He's got a really strong voice too, and I just want more of him doing his, type thing. I can't just like put it to words exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess like talking about him being a legend, right? I think the idea of, I think we talked about this way back in Akali, the idea of the things he does being so like horrific that they assume it's a demon and it's like, oh, it's actually just a guy. That's a cool idea. But they also mention in the bio that Kusho doesn't want to, the reason everyone thinks it's a legend is because they specifically haven't ever revealed that he's a guy. Everyone kind of just, as far as they know, is like, oh yeah, it's that demon. They banished that demon because that's what they do. No one ever really knows he's a guy. And the reason Kusho kind of gives is like, oh, if people realize he's a human, it will like maybe undermine the harmony and unity of Ionia, I guess, which doesn't hold a lot of water to me.
No, no, people
me.
should know who did this.
Especially given that like that was his reason, because when Zed was like, no, we should kill him, that was like the reason he gave for like, no, we've got to take him in because, people can't know. But like, no, you could also murder him and just not tell people.
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Yeah. It's also like, it's kind of fucked up because he doesn't kill this guy. He sends him to prison. He ends up getting out of this prison. And so all of these people are completely unaware that this demon they thought was vanquished is still just among them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it'll be the first in a long line of mistakes Kusho made.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's kind of a like real irony. I guess, I think that idea could work if that explanation was a little stronger, because to me it's a really good way of showcasing some of the maybe problems that Ionia is kind of about to face with the Noxian invasion, is that they want to kind of stay as things are and like, no, we're going to keep things nice and harmonic and everything, and not really want to deal with the fact that like, no, people are capable of this, and they're about to experience that firsthand when Noxus shows up and does all this shit to them. So I think that could be a nice little tragedy of like, oh, by protecting them, he's actually made things worse, right? Instead of kind of showing Ionia that, hey, it can be this bad. And if you get a hold of that idea earlier, maybe they can better deal with the Noxian invasion, all right? but it's just like this one line. And I think also the problem is that the Zed comic shows like Jin's capture, and they don't ever get into that idea, and Kusho more just kind of gives this broad like, oh, this isn't our jurisdiction, we're ghost cops, we don't kill men and people. It's like, that reads kind of bullshit, whatever. So.
We're the ghost cop. Well, then get the regular ones.
Right.
Get the Ionia force. Yeah.
I do like the idea of Jhin doing things that are so like horrific that it fucks up everybody who even just trying to catch him fucks up Zed and Shen and Kusho. Like they all get traumatized by it. That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and going back to the idea of Jhin doing things that are so horrific, people assume it's a monster. That's historical, which is kind of. I was going to say
like
cool.
A Vlad the Impaler type deal.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
That's neat. Yeah.
It reminded me of the Reavers when I was reading about it.
Sure, yeah.
From Firefly, just like seeing what they had done drives people so insane that they become Reavers themselves.
Oh.
Yeah, I think across all these pieces, that's something that I think they do well, is they don't ever really show what he's done. They kind of talk around it, and it really lets your imagination kind of run wild. They just give these sort of like little vague descriptors of like, oh, it unfolds the flesh like a flower, and your mind's just like, I don't know what that looks like.
What? Okay.
But it sounds fucked up.
You get some good hints from Jin's point of view too, when he's like, I need to fix her face or whatever, and you're like, oh, you're not gonna fix it in a good way, are you, Jhin?
It's never helpful surgery, is it?
Her face looks fine. I don't know what you mean, man.
Do you want to get into the short story then too?
Yeah, sure. It is pretty short.
For sure. By the way, I found on the wiki the bio was by Odin Austin Schaefer and Ian St. Martin, so that's...
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Odin was involved in every piece of writing for Jhin. I think this was kind of, his baby, or one of his various babies.
Well, we need more.
Yeah, for sure. He should do another little short story by Jhin. But this one's called The Man with the Steel Cane, also by Odin Austin Schaefer, and it opens with Jhin cleaning and admiring his gun in an inn. And he's got this little thing where he's like, I'm not supposed to play with it yet, but he kind of can't help himself, and he puts on his Jhin outfit anyway, and he starts to kind of like get a little, it titillates him as he does. And as he's donned it, the maid for the inn kind of comes and says she's done what he asked. She's hung a white lantern every 4 yards and a red lantern every 16. And hearing that, he kind of steps out in full regalia, and he's looking out over the town, and he's getting ready for his performance. And as the maid goes to set flowers in his room, he is inspired to, as you're saying, make her face more interesting, right? Then it cuts to Shen. He's getting a bowl of soup and an inn, and Zed shows up, and Shen's kind of preparing to cut him down. They talk about how they know each other so well that Zed's like just a finger length away from how close Shen needs to be to kill him. But Zed kind of drops the ball that not drops the ball. He drops the news that Jin's escaped. And he asks Shen, like, only you and I, we're the only two people who can catch him. And then it cuts back to Jhin, and he's waiting on a ship for Zed. He kind of notes that he's got a performance scheduled in Zon next month, so he needs to be punctual with his timings and stuff. And he kind of goes into the town and like is checking his traps and his preparation, and he spots Shen kind of seeing the aftermath of what he's done at the end to the maid, and the collies there as well. This is also something that shows up in the comic, funny enough. And like you mentioned, people who see what he's done, they kind of lose their minds, they kind of go mad, and Jhin kind of, I guess, satisfied, I don't know, decides to head back to the ship and just await Zed and Shen to kind of follow his trail, and gets ready for his true masterpiece to begin. And that's it. It's pretty short.
Yeah. There's a bunch of things about this that I liked. One, the story is separated into 4 parts, which was a nice touch.
He's counting.
And there's Jin's obvious recurring theme throughout: 4 wipes, 4 taps of his cane, lanterns every 4 yards. It really highlights a lot of his OCD. He wiped the gun stock a 4th time. He couldn't be sure it was clean until he wiped it down 4 times. Didn't matter that he hadn't used it. Didn't matter that he was only going to stow it in a bag under the bed. He couldn't put it away until he was sure it was clean, and he couldn't be sure it was clean until he had wiped it down 4 times. It was getting clean, though. 4 times makes it clean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a lovely little bit. I like that. It's fun.
We also get a little interesting bit in this story that I'm not sure we get anywhere else. We know that he was using like magical weapons in some instances to do a lot of his art, but they also specify in this story that he's using key techniques in combination with his weapons, like kind of key magic to do a lot of his art. So it's not just that he has weapons that are capable of being magical, but he also has inherent magic that he uses during his performances.
Yeah, and you're talking about
I
like
think this is the first and last place they mentioned that.
you're saying like key like KI like sort
KI,
of
yeah.
not like Keyblade type shit. You know, that's
That's
where my
not
mind
using
goes.
Keyblade.
Yeah, no, I think
Mickey came.
Although he enhances scalpels with his key, so he kind of uses Keyblades.
no, yeah.
I want Jhin in the next Kingdom Hearts or we riot.
Fuck yeah. No, I think they don't really talk about that elsewhere, but they do kind of in the bio, I want to say, and maybe another point in the Zed comic. They kind of talk a little bit about his weapon and how it's like it's magical. The bullets are infused with magic, and how they're coming out of this armory. And I don't remember what it was called. I have it written down somewhere, Kushai or something like that. But I think it's interesting there that he talks about how he kind of compares it to Hextech weaponry and how like those are. He says like those are almost like pale little imitations compared to what this can do.
Little baby magic.
I was gonna say I really like how he called out like Piltover's magic as being really small, which is great because we're seeing in Arcane that just a little bit of Hextech magic is like a massive deal for them. So it's interesting to think about how a bigger magic like from Ionia would just be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Really shake it up.
Yeah, I think that's
Very
a really
interesting.
It's a really cool idea, frankly. And yeah, Ionia being this place is just like replete with magic and the idea of what weapons out of Ionia that harnessed that magic would look like is a really cool thing, and I hope Riot explores that more. You know, maybe in Arcane, who knows, right? Just at some point, it's a really cool thing to start playing with, and I hope they do it more. You know,
Savika already has one of those weird shoulder things like Jhin does.
yeah, honestly,
She's basically dressed like Bandito Jhin.
that's you know what you're not, yeah, for sure. And yeah, all of the sections, like the start and end, where it's Jin's perspective, they carry his voice super well. You know,
Yeah.
Like there was a line where he's like talking about that maid's face is like it was round and perfectly symmetrical, a dull and predictable design. Removed, it would make a terrible mask. You know, just I that's why I would love more that's just written from his perspective because he's a lot of fun to spend time with. You know.
Yeah, first of all, that made me feel much better about my clearly not symmetrical face. Thank you, Jen.
Beautiful.
I'd wear your face any day.
I'm gonna cut it off right now. But also, I feel like this is classic. What we're seeing, the strongest voices in characters have like the least amount of lore from their point of view.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I'm less disappointed with the amount of lore that we have for Jhin. I would love more. I don't feel like, I mean, because he could use more, and I think he's a really fascinating character. I feel like we didn't get, it's not like a Braum situation necessarily where we get like one story. Well, we kind of do get one story told multiple times. For some reason, it works here where it didn't work with Braum. Probably because we're getting actual different perspective instead of a literal retelling of the same story three times. But I'm like, I obviously want more Jhin lore. I'm not disappointed with what we do have, but I could take more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, like his voice is really strong. I like the bit that we get talking about the maid too, where he mentioned the woman's eyes widened as he exited his room. Jhin was well aware of how he looked. Normally, it elicited pangs of self-conscious loathing. But today was a performance day.
I am curious about all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot you could. I feel like you could really start digging deep into who Jhin is, and you would want to do it very slowly, right? You don't want to like, oh, here's his little tragic backstory, right? Like for the most part, he's good as just a psycho killer guy. But getting little hints at like here's a bit of a grounding, like even just like suggestions of who he may have been before he was caught at Jhin would be fun, I think.
Yeah, even if it's a little muddled, so it's like a two truths and a lie kind of deal almost, and you're never sure what's exactly true. It'd almost be like how in The Dark Knight, the Joker keeps telling the story of how he got his scars, but the story's always different. I feel like that would be interesting applied to Jhin as well. That he just kind of keeps telling the stories. And some of them might have nuggets of truth in them, and you have to try to find them.
Yeah.
I think, and I wish I could remember the specific quote. As I'm playing through Ruined King, I keep like kicking myself for not writing down quotes as I see them. But there was one quote that I saw in a building in like, I'm pretty sure it was in the Cario estate. If you're playing through Ruined King, let me know if you see this lore in the Cario estate. But it was talking about someone who sounded very suspiciously like Jhin, but like as a child. And like I'm really curious. They did mention some characters had come from Ionia and fucking hated it here in Bilgewater, obviously, because it's Bilgewater and that was Ionia.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious if it was an intentional Jhin nod or some other weirdo.
Interesting.
Some weirdo.
Some
counts to 4 all the time.
His understudy, right? Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've hit that point, so I'll keep an eye out for it.
Actually, I wonder if I can go back and read the journals. I know
I think
can't
you can.
reactivate them, but I'm gonna have to check it out.
Probably.
I'll follow up on Discord if I find anything fun. Also, you mentioned that you didn't see any of Shen's wit and sense of humor, so I recorded an example for you.
All right, tell me the joke.
Yeah, so there was a quote from the thing that said, "The candle on Shen's table flickered wrongly. He slid away from the table, retrieving his blades from under his cloak. Your students are as quiet as a pregnant war axe." So that was a pretty fun joke that he said.
I will say his soup sounded really good. They're talking about like
really
this
fucking good,
5-spice
dude.
broth, and it's got like like candied pork. It made me think of like getting some really good like, pork ramen. Like
I was Mark, I wanted ramen so fucking bad after that.
fuck.
But I have a shitty top ramen. It's not gonna do it.
Oh, I was gonna say the last thing I had when he mentions his performance that's upcoming in Zon, Awaken performance.
I would assume, right?
Yeah, it has to be because this is like that is one thing I liked about this is that it kind of leads into the events of the comic, or we kind of see the events of this happen in the comic as well. So it's nice when these different pieces kind of tie together in that way. I was going to ask, do we want to talk about how it about the comic, because he's in it for a good chunk. He's kind of a focal point of it, I suppose.
I've got comic notes.
All right.
I'll try and run through the quick summary, I guess, because like you said, we talked about it with Akali, trying to hit the broad strokes, but yeah, Shen and Zed are going after Jhin. He's escaped. Jhin attacks some of Zed's followers. He gets Zed to start chasing after him. It shows us in the past the actual capture of Jhin, like we were kind of talking about, so it's nice to get a little bit more of that. They show actually the trap that they set up and how it works a little bit more, and it was a careful trap. I guess I don't know.
Carefully laid trap.
Carefully laid, yeah. But I guess important points are that we see that Jhin is targeting, while he's out now in the present, he's targeting elders and like council members who are specifically opposing like military unification of Ionian provinces. Because that's another big mystery with Jhin is like, how did he get out? Who's funding? Who's this like patron, right? And we see some of the events of this short story as well. And we see that those lanterns he set up are bombs, and they completely destroy this whole town that he was in. Eventually he goes to Zon. He has, we assume, the encounter with Camille because we see the aftermath of it. He sets a trap. He captures Akali, almost kills Shen, but then Akali kind of gets free and stops him. And the end of it all is that Jhin is recaptured, right? Again, not killed because Shen's the fucking eye of the Twilight and all that bullshit. But there's a big reveal. I guess we didn't talk about that with Akali. Do we want to talk about that here, or do we still want to leave it? I don't know. What is your thought, John? I guess. Or Rebecca.
I think we can talk about half of it. I think from a practical perspective, we can. Well,
I didn't read the comic, so I don't know what you.
That's why I was kind of wondering, because I know it spoils some things with Zed and Shen. We'll
just give a quick tag. This is going to be a Zed Shen.
That's
their shipping name.
Ship name.
A Zen.
It's either Zen or Shed, so you know.
Yeah. There's going to be a slight spoiler for that. If you don't want it to be spoiled, you can stop listening now. Otherwise,
people want to know the lore.
3, 2, 1. It was Master Kusho. He did it.
Yep.
Did what?
He freed Jhin.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's still alive.
He's
That's the other big
he's
thing.
supposedly dead, but he's not dead. He freed Jhin.
Wow, what a
and-
dickhead.
And
Yeah.
also helped Zed become Zed.
Wow.
Shen
Yeah.
doesn't realize. Shen thinks that Zed killed Kusho.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and the reason he did all that, specifically let Jhin go nuts, is because he's trying to just kind of sow discord and chaos to get everyone to be so afraid that they decide to become a big unified military nation, essentially. Is like, oh,
I feel like there's got to be a better way, man.
yeah, he's in
This
the
is
wrong.
like it's like the end of Watchmen when they're like, make a giant squid monster. It'll bring everyone together.
Yeah, honestly, he's kind of the squid monster. He's the, but yeah, so that's kind of what happens at the end, and that's who's been giving him all that money and those guns is like the Navori Brotherhood under the direction of Kusho, is the deal.
Oh, so do the Navori Brotherhood also work for Kusho? Because we only know them as like baddies, kind of, right?
Yeah, and I think they
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I think he kind of secretly leads and directs them all. Does that line up right?
Yeah, because they're
Wow,
they
Shen's gonna
have
be pissed.
they have unified goals.
Yeah.
I don't know what the strict like line of command is, but I think at the very least they are, they're in the same.
They're like coworkers. They're working on the same shit, right? They're working towards.
God, you really? He's looking in my eyes like, honey, please tell me what I'm
They're
thinking.
working towards
Finish
similar
that
ends,
thought that
right?
I'm trying to have, honey.
Shared goals.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're bedfellows. We'll say that.
Yeah.
That was
Sure.
technically the word I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
And but couldn't think of any way to say it without. I couldn't think of the word, so it would have just sounded like they're in bed together. They do sexy stuff.
They're shed
And the message I was
fellows.
trying to get across.
I mean, they might be.
They might be. I don't know. So I like that Jhin lures Zed. This comic essentially starts with Jhin luring Zed out. Like the reason that Zed knows that Jhin is back is because he lures him to a site where he has killed a little girl that Zed rescued years ago from one of Jin's other mass murders.
Yeah, I guess she's a
damn, that's
woman now
fucked
at this
up.
point because it's been
Yeah,
like
she's a
17
woman
years.
now.
But
It was like back in the day, and she survived. Zed saved her, and then Jhin captured her again and killed her to lure Zed back out.
Thanks, Kusho.
Yeah.
Man, thanks a lot, man.
another
You're so cool, dude.
tally on the Kusho fucked up
So
list.
does Zed know that Kusho freed Jhin?
Yes.
Not until the end, I don't think. Right?
I don't think till
Is
the
he
end.
like pissed about this?
No, well,
Oh yeah, he's pissed.
Okay.
Yeah, it leads to a direct like confrontation. I think he does know because one thing that's kind of running through this comic, this is really just about Zed, is that he is constantly trying to get Shin to figure it out on his own. He doesn't want to like tell him because he's super honor bound to not admit the truth. But he's constantly
I
like
mean, Shen wouldn't believe it either,
also that probably right.
I assume.
So he's constantly trying to he's trying to help Shin connect the dots. Like, hey, come on, figure it out, man. Or hopes that Jhin will admit it, and Jhin doesn't, because Jhin knows that Zed knows, and whatever.
I
Shen's
did love
just an
how
idiot.
I think Jin's just like delighted in messing with all of these people.
Yes.
Well, I found it interesting in the short story that he knew exactly who Shen and Zed are, and he's like, oh, time to fuck with my friends. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the friend that doesn't realize that he's not actually your friend.
That's great. I would love to, like Zen and Chet are talking, and fucking
God,
Jen's like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" Oh man.
They try to kill him.
Now, if you go to issue 2, page 5 of the comics, I have a question. Where's Jhin? Where's he hiding? Where did he go? Zed was right behind him, and then he turned a corner, and Jhin gone done disappeared.
I feel like I'm watching Blue's Clues. You're trying to.
It's funny. Of all the comics, I just had 2 up so that I could, credit the various credits on it. But you're right. It does just like he clears a lot of distance, I guess we'll say. And the thing is, it doesn't make sense because we see Zed just hippity hopping all around this fucking comic. He can close the gap, right? It's a little weird. I guess it just, whatever. He's Jhin. He's a master tactician. He's got it all planned out, right? Whatever.
Now, Jhin has a cool little part of this comic too, where he does a neat little puppet show that's all about getting Zen, Jesus Christ.
I think
Zed.
it's so hard
Right?
to say Zed, Shen, and Jhin, like, all together. It's so fucking hard.
Especially because Zen is like a very Ionian thing too. So like, but he's got a little puppet show about getting Zed and Shen together that he's performing for little children.
Aww.
But I'm really curious because one of those things where the frame that we get is kind of the as far as we've gotten in the story so far. So I'm really curious what the puppet show looked like after the frame, like next frame was like, and that's it. There's no conclusion to this show, or did he like make up his own ending to the show?
And now they kiss.
Did he like perform all the murders?
That's why we call him Zen.
Yeah, they like that whole image of him being like a puppet master and you know, pulling Jhin and Shed by their strings they dance to his tune, you know? But
Yeah. Do we know, because the only thing I really knew about Jhin beforehand was because of the Awakened cinematic, so I had assumed he was from Piltover Zon, and then a while back one of y'all told me he was from Ionia, and it seems like his story is mostly tied up with Shen and Zed, so why does he go to Zon?
I have a note here.
Okay.
Actually, my next note was specifically about this.
Oh, thank God. Look at our timing. Oh my God, we should get married.
But you know how we were talking about Master Kusho wanting people to support war?
It's amazing how he goes from we can't kill people to let's make a war.
yeah, I mean, he got pretty fucked up mentally, it seems like, and he kind of course corrected way too far in the other direction, I guess I'll say.
Gotcha. It's like where Jarvan's kind of headed a little bit, we're worried, you know?
Yeah. So at this point, there's a bunch of Noxian outposts in Ionia, and they're getting a bunch of weapon shipments from Piltover and the clan heads in Piltover. So Jhin has specifically been targeting weapon shipments out of Piltover, and he's essentially every single all the merchant clans in Piltover have actually completely stopped shipping weapons to Ionia because they're terrified of him hitting their shipments. All except for Clan Pharos.
Well, it's Camille.
Who has sent out a kill team to find Jhin, which is what directly leads to...
when the head of Pharos is a woman with sword legs, you know, she's gonna put up a fight.
But yeah, so that's why he's in Zon, and that's why the whole confrontation between him and Camille happens in the first place, is because her and her kill team were like, no, fuck you.
We're gonna ship these fucking weapons. We got schedules to maintain, motherfucker. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
It all ties pretty neatly together. That's one thing I do like about all this, is that there's not a lot of points where they stumble in trying to get these different... This is like an almost mixed media thing together. The story flows pretty smoothly. Every now and then something's a little different. Like, in the short story, Zed and Shen are very... they're very calm. They don't fight at all. And they're just kind of talking at length to each other. In the comic, they fight a little bit when they first meet each other. It's like, you know, it's not perfect, but... It's still pretty good.
Well, you want to add more action in a comic and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Last thing, too, I guess I would say is that in the Awakened cinematic, you know, it kind of ends with a big, you know, dramatic showdown between Jhin and Camille, where Jin's taking a bow right as Camille's diving at him with her razor legs. And... the inherent question is like, all right, well, he looks cool as hell doing that bow, but how does he get out of the way of her razor legs? And the answer we find out in the comic is trapdoor.
Yeah, you had mentioned this, I think, or maybe Camille's episode, I think you mentioned this. Because you could see the trapdoor in Awaken, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't see it in Awaken.
Oh, okay.
You see it in the comic.
Yeah.
Macaulay kind of goes and investigates. Ironically, maybe not ironically, that's the wrong word, but like... questioningly, I guess, the trapdoor opens up in the comic, and I don't know how exactly you do one of those real easily for a quick escape.
He's just that good a showman, all right? He's a stagehand, you know, I mean, you know, whatever. That's actually a nice little detail.
If anyone can do it, it's old Cottage Inn.
Yeah. Yeah, this comic's pretty good. I like just Jhin specifically. I think we talked about it already, but they really do a good job of communicating how atrocious his murders are, because everyone's constantly reacting to it in the most like horrified way possible, or like showing the past where Zed and Shen are having to deal with the aftermath, and like you said, they're having to do like triage, and it's just like they're having to let people die and cut people's legs off and save them and all sorts of just horrible shit. It's great. I fucking love it. And then the art, because there's like a scene where he's shooting a few of Zed's students, and the art for those in particular is actually really cool. They do it, I guess, from like his perspective, where instead of it being like blood and guts everywhere, it's like, oh, it's a flower with like shellfish and things like that spewing out. But it's cool. It's a really cool way of like interpreting it, I guess. I don't know. So
yeah.
But yeah.
All right, is that it for canon, Jhin?
I think so.
In terms of old lore, he really doesn't have a whole lot because he's a fairly new champion, and he came out pretty close to the time that the Zed comics came out, so like a lot of it already overlapped. I think like the only real difference I even noticed was that in his old lore, they don't specify who his benefactors were, because I don't know if they knew that yet, because they didn't want that Kusho reveal quite yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Do they even specify it in the bio now?
No.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they were even less specific. They just said rich benefactors. I think in his current bio they specified the clan, I guess, but they didn't specify Kusho. But yeah. Yeah, we mentioned he's in Awaken, which is, canon and is very cool. If you haven't seen it, you should.
Yep.
He sets a bunch of traps and is a badass. And yeah, so that is canon Jhin. He's in a few other cinematics that are, obviously not canon. He's in a double lift cinematic called Unstoppable, which is inspired by the story of Double Lift, and it's like an animated story that follows some of his most iconic moments and animated, and he's got a cool... He plays Jhin in there, and he rocks some dumbass thresh. That was neat. I like that this whole story was like about Double Lift 2. He maybe has 3 highlight clips, and one of them is his fucking Lucian versus Victor clip where he accidentally dashes in and gets blown up in half a second. I love that was one of his 3 highlights.
Double Lift had such a long career as a pro player.
Wow. Like, no, I'm going to put in that time he fucked his team at Worlds that one time.
You gotta give the people what they want. Come on.
And then he was in this year's World Cinematic, Burn It All Down, where this time it was Sven playing him. And much like all ADCs on my team, when I'm playing League, he decides to get into a melee fight with 2 other people on the other team.
John, you're usually the AD carry.
Yes,
I
your
said
point.
what I said. I play Tristana. You got to jump in.
Except you usually go, I didn't mean to do that.
And sometimes you got to jump in on accident.
Limit testing. Come on.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Well, I guess actually other canon Jhin stuff are some of his quotes. I wrote a few of them down.
Okay. Oh, he's got great quotes.
He has. I mean, he's from that era where they put a ton of time into his quotes, so he's got a lot of them. We mentioned he's got a strong voice, so he's got a lot of really good quotes too.
Yeah.
I put down some of my favorite interaction quotes. He's got one to Garen that says, "The always enchanting tale of star-crossed lovers."
Mm-hmm.
And then one to Katarina that says, "Your finale will be a duet."
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And he's got one to Tom Kench that says, "You have too many lines." Which, at the time, Tom Kench had the most lines in the game at 224, although Jhin has 241.
There are people with over 200 lines in the game.
Yeah.
And then you play like Annie and she says 6 things.
Okay.
She's really looking
Wow.
for tips. Man.
He's got one to Jinx that says, "So many guns, all lacking in meaning or artistry."
Oh, fuck you.
If only he fucking knew.
She gets crayons and she draws faces on them. How dare you?
And they've all got so much meaning now.
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
When he buys Leandries, he says, "Not sure."
When he buys Leandries?
Yep. For when you're going that full AP trap build.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Andrew.
Not sure I needed another mask, but okay.
Okay.
He also has a quote that gave me real big Always Sunny in Philadelphia vibes. I am pure. My work is pure.
I'm a 5-star man. Did they be 4 stars?
I was thinking of Frank from the quarantine episode. Gotta get rid of this filthy hair. I must be pure.
I was wondering where you were going with, this gave me Always Sunny vibes, but
Yeah.
He also has a quote that says, behind every mask is another mask.
I hope he wears 2 masks.
I know me. This reminded me.
Why didn't we just get a piano sound, by the way, on your computer? Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's probably a notification for something.
Oh, I've never heard that one on your computer.
Jin's
before.
on the computer
Facebook.
right now.
It was really eerie.
There's a Jhin right behind you.
He has 3 masks on.
I was just going to say this reminded me of like an old webcomic that I used to really like, where they were talking about like role-playing game characters, and they were like, we've got to fight a dragon and we've got to fight this random dude in a cloak. And he's like, oh, all right, I'll fight the dragon. You fight the cloak. It's like, what? No, why? You never fight a man in a cloak, man. They're always fucking OP. He's like, well, hold on. Hey, mister, what do you have under that cloak? Another cloak. Fuck.
I was thinking more like that old gif where that guy was running around with a bucket on his head and someone knocked it out. And there was another bucket.
Yeah, that is
We
good.
both go to different places.
Anywho, he's also got a few more of his like OCD quotes there. I cannot be good. I must be perfection. The art is a compulsion. I cannot resist it. And then he's got one that says, through my work you shall transcend, which I thought was really neat, based on some realities of the project universe, where he literally transcends.
Ooh.
But we'll get into that.
Interesting.
That one does sound familiar. I wonder if that's one of the ones you hear if you step on one of his traps. You know, he like whispers in your ear if you step on a trap.
Yeah.
It is actually the kill for, it's one of his kill quotes. I think it probably is for the trap.
Probably why
Really?
I've heard it. I die a lot in this game.
Yeah.
My work, you shall transcend.
Yeah, I like the one where he's like, I knew you'd find your mark eventually when you step on it.
Yeah.
I love that. I wish there was every champion had a million things like that. It's great.
Yeah.
Now, he's not part of a lot of AUs, actually.
He doesn't have a lot of skins, shocking.
He doesn't. He's got, I think, like 7 skins, but 2 of them are actually World Championship skins, so he's only part of 5 AUs. Luckily, he's part of the best ones.
Yeah.
First one, obviously, when we're talking about best ones, High Noon. At the height of the Industrial Revolution, travelers begin pouring into the untamed West, searching for fortune and prosperity among the unknown horrors of cruel and ancient world. It is a time of brave gunslingers and rotten scoundrels, inscrutable gods, and savage demons. And this one is High Noon Jhin. Need a man dead? Hire any sun-baked lunatic looking to make a name for themselves in the Old West. Need to set an example? Then you should seek out the mechanical assassin known as Jhin, and no one will ever forget what happens at the crossroads of murder and art.
Ooh, man. God, that AU is so fucking cool.
It is a cool AU. Although they did just do with Jhin like they do with a lot of people. Be like, it's Jhin, but he has a cowboy hat on.
And he's a robot now.
Yeah, he's
full
mechanical
robot.
assassin, man. Sounds awesome.
Also, I do like that much like Ionia, which has like actual demons, and people thought that Jhin was a demon, but he's not actually a demon, he's just a person. The High Noon AU is just so many demons all around, and I do like the decision to make him also not a demon in this one. But
That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
now he's also part of Blood Moon. An ancient cult seeking irresistible power surfaces on nights of the blood moon to perform profane, esoteric rites, merging their flesh with demonic spirits and becoming one with an ever greater darkness. And this one is Blood Moon Jhin. Ink Mage, trained assassin, and master of ceremonies, Jhin is all this and more. a grandiose figure whose encyclopedic knowledge of centuries-old rituals fuels the blood moon's hellish summoning rites. He knows the name of every demon and how to direct them into a still-living vessel.
Yo, did you say Ink Mage?
Ink Mage is what he's referred to.
That is such a cool concept. I hope they do that for like some champion or something. That's fucking cool.
Right? He's like human Okami.
Yeah, I was gonna say calligraphy, like mage, but murderer. That's damn.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
cool.
God, what was his name? That Naruto guy that joined Team 6.
Nope.
Mark and I
nope.
both went, nope.
Fortunately,
Took
I
over
haven't
for
seen it.
Sasuke.
Now, I've heard of Sasuke.
I know that. Yeah, I know that name. Even I know that name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Fucking nerd.
This also has a short story, which he was tagged in. He's not technically in the short story anywhere. It's just kind of implied that he played a role in it. It's called The Bloody Tale, which is just a quick blurb about a lady waking up after having been through some sort of ceremony, which, you know, according to the lore, would have been administered by Jhin, as he's the master of ceremonies. And that's kind of it. She was likely taken in her sleep and then returned after the ceremony, as she was with companions the whole time, and they didn't notice she was gone, and only woke up when she woke up screaming. And then she tells them it was a dream.
Women.
Fat chance. Now he's also part of Project, where so Project is the perfect fusion of one's supernatural essence with advanced weaponry and body augmentation. This linking of technology and energy allows extraordinary hosts to channel their essence into physical manifestations, and in rare cases, transcend the corporeal plane. Only subjects possessing extremely focused inner essence and exceptional physical attributes can unlock the true power of Project. Among the megastructures and packed streets of a future controlled by global corporations, a shadow war rages between rebellious augmented humans and newly empowered artificial beings. The winners will shape the course of history, and the losers will be forced to evolve. Now, this whole AU is kind of separated into a couple different factions. You've got, like, Central, who's... it just kind of seems like the cops, really. And Vi's the only one who's a member of Central. Then you've got Genetic, who is Ash's group of rebels. And then you have Command Line, who kind of work for Project to squash the rebellion. And you have Outsiders, who are mostly failed Project conversions. Jhin belongs to none of these factions.
Oh,
Awesome.
Okay.
So Project Jhin. After a botched surgery, Jhin went from being a black market augment hacker to a notorious mechanized killer for hire. Still programmed with a taste for high clearance upgrades, the tech Jhin takes from his victims has left him with a severe personality fragmentation and a dark vision for the future of Project and humanity. Now this has an associated cinematic and short story which feature Jhin. The cinematic is called The Hunt, which is basically just a big dramatic showdown between Vayne, Vi, and Jhin, where the cinematic ends with them all jumping into the sky and then ends before the action starts.
Freeze frame.
They turn into a book and a
Yeah.
It closes.
And then there is a short story, which is called Of Rats and Cats and Neon Mice.
Ooh, I like that title.
It's a cool title. Legit, if you haven't read it, you should read this fucking story. It's pretty good. I say short story. A lot of the AU short stories are really short. This one is actually like, there's a lot to this one. It's like 4 separate chapters. And
But
it's
how
a pretty
many
cool story.
How many Heimerdingers is it, John? This is what you need to calculate.
So many fucking Heimerdingers. It's
an infinite.
Very many.
Okay, very many Heimerdingers.
It also opens with the coolest description of Jhin yet, probably. This is told from the perspective of someone that Jhin is about to kill. The shadow steps into the ambient light. Its lean shape is all dark, wiry muscles of carbon fiber braided over heavy servos. His jet-colored chest plating swallows the glare from above. The doctor recognizes the matted fur collar coiled like a feral cat around the neck of a dark anodized steel frame. But it is the contours of the shadow's featureless mask, defined now only by the drip of falling water and the reflection of the pulsating hollow signs that rattles the doctor to his inadequate common bones. Kata Jhin.
Ooh. That is dope.
Normie Bones.
Normie Bones.
He looks so much like Zero from Borderlands.
He looks very much
Right,
like Zero.
okay.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's intentional.
Oh, okay.
So basically, in this story, Jhin murders a doctor who had a very valuable item, and I think probably an augment on him because Jhin loves murdering people for their augments. Vi, who was just recently promoted to detective after working the beat in the lower sector, is trying to solve the case. She runs into Vayne, who gets the drop on her, and she wants an upgrade cube that Vi received as part of her promotion. Vi's not really big on upgrades. She kind of just likes the fists she got. She doesn't really like the other upgrades. Doesn't use guns. At this point, Vi's partner calls her and says, "Oh no, I got into trouble in the trash heap," which is like a black market type area. There's a lot of similarities between like the lower city here in Zon and like the trash heap and the literal trash heap in Zon. So she'll never make it there in time to help him, so Vayne offers to give her a ride in exchange for the upgrade cube. So she does that. When they get there, turns out it was a trap. Vi's partner sucks.
Need to find Caitlyn.
Yeah, she probably will. So her partner tried to sell some shitty augments to Jhin. Jhin did not want him and was going to kill him, but then he was like, wait, no, my partner just got a sweet new upgrade and she doesn't even want it. So he promised Jhin Vi's upgrade. Obviously, that's spoken for now. So the two of them fight Jhin, and first thing Jhin does is fucking murder her partner, vaporize him. Vayne's able to pin Jhin against the wall, and at which point his head disengages from his body and scuttles away.
No shit. That's
His
pretty
head's
fucking
done.
cool.
He's like, I'm out.
Yeah. And then the story kind of, Vi and Vayne say their goodbyes, but then the story ends with Jin's head finding another body to attach itself to and continues on transcendent.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
Gross.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking cool.
Shit, dog. Yeah, check that shit out.
It's a
Fuck.
badass story. Not gonna lie, you should go read that story.
There's a thing almost. I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now he's part of the Dark Star, or Event Horizon AU2. In the vast darkness of space are born terrible, beautiful things, cosmic creatures of sublime love, and the unknowable monstrosities of the Dark Star. These are the children of silent gods, and they are finally coming home. Important thing to note about this skin, which is Dark Cosmic Jhin, is that Jhin has the lines that officially connect the Dark Star AU to the Odyssey AU.
Oh.
Yeah. When he kills Odyssey Sona, he says, "I liked your forebears, Sona. They're all dead, but they had excellent taste." And then when he kills any of the other Odyssey characters, he says, "You opened that gate? Excellent. I could use a change of scenery, you know." So we got some multiverse vibes there.
Interesting. So remind me again how the connection works there, because I remember how Odyssey works and I remember how Dark Star works, but I don't remember how they're connected exactly.
So they don't have a lot of connections. I think the only connection is that the crew of the Odyssey has found a way to traverse timelines.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Neat.
Yeah. And this one, Dark Cosmic Jhin. Jhin was an interstellar entity consumed by the Dark Star and given new purpose. Now, his ageless mind is infected by visions of omnipotence and consumed by an insatiable hunger. He scours entire regions of space, seemingly on a whim, using the remnants to create bizarre, silent objects of art. And there is a short story associated with this one, too.
Damn. Called
Ambition's Embrace. Now, this one, it's essentially a luck story. This was the one that the community all kind of weighed in on to determine how it was going to end. But this is a meeting of the Celestials, and when they all meet, they realize that some of them are missing, specifically Jhin and Mordekaiser. And Lulu notes that Jin's light is gone. And the whole council kind of notices, as she mentions it, like, oh shit, he got. And Lux realizes since she felt his light blink away, she's also been noticing, from the time that she noticed his light blink away, she's also been noticing a lot of twisted, broken star systems, and stars inverted into black holes, shattered planets careening wildly, unhinged orbits. All the work, she thinks, of this now darkened Jhin. She also mentioned, despite it being devastating, it's always very beautiful. So, good art, buddy. And then the court goes off to hunt all the Darkstar corruptants and leaves Lux to face the Darkstar herself. And whether or not she defeated them was up to the community. And y'all did not want her to win.
So mean.
People after my own heart. Failure and tragedy. Beautiful.
And then finally, he's part of the Shanghai Scroll AU.
His face looks so much like Shaco here to me every time I see him.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's got one of the demon masks on.
Mm-hmm. And underneath another mask.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beneath
yeah.
every mask.
I forgot what the splash for this looked like, but yeah, you're right. It's like his really elongated kind of features and things like that.
Yeah, it fucks me up.
Now, this is set in a world where champions are mythological creatures within the mysterious Shanghai Scrolls, and this is separated into the gods of the world and the monsters. This is Shanghai Scrolls Jhin, a mad god who resides within a mysterious painting older than creation. Jhin has grown bored of the canvas in which he dwells and wishes to bring his art to new, fresh eyes. He's begun weaving the edges of the painting into the fabric of the multiverse, hoping to escape his confinement. And in this AU, Nico's actually his buddy, and she is trying to return Jhin to the side of good before he destroys the multiverse. But doing so may destroy her.
That's an interesting little pairing. Jhin and Nico. Huh.
I ship it.
John, no.
Yeah. So that's all I've got for AUs. I have a few fun facts.
Slap
you guys want
them
some
on
fun
me.
facts?
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 1, voiced by Quentin Flynn.
Yeah, good job. I looked him up. He, you know who he does? He does Axel in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, hell yeah.
He also does Raiden in Metal Gear Solid. So,
Oh, shit.
yeah. But yeah.
The range.
Yeah. It's neat.
Nice. Fun fact 2. Since we only see him through a reflection, Jhin is technically the first champion to not be in his own splash art.
I mean...
Kata, his first name, was one of 6 names being considered for him. And then they just kind of were like, let's do both of them. Kata and Jhin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a treat. At various points in development, the 4th shot of Jin's autos could one-shot a Zed at full health.
Let's do that again. Let's do that again.
And Dancing Grenade could bounce infinite times.
I don't want that one.
Yeah.
But, yes. Can we one-shot like a Yone as well?
Yeah. I like that idea too.
Right.
Now, we all know Jhin has an obsession with the number 4, but his login theme is also built around 4-note motifs. He is written in 4/4. His name has 4 letters. His title has 4 syllables. And if you spell Jhin on your keyboard, it draws a little number 4.
Mark's tried it now.
I'm looking at it. I guess it's a very angled 4, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crooked
You gotta
4.
squint a little bit, but
Just like Jhin.
no.
Symbolic.
I will say his
Alright,
login
I'll
music
give
is
it to
fucking great.
I
think
love
yeah.
it.
It's dope as hell.
it's one of
Yeah.
the best pieces I think they've done, at least login screen wise. You know.
Yeah.
I guess just I'll skip ahead to the little bit there. Jhin is the 2nd champion that I did whistling for.
Yes, although was it even in the game?
It is technically.
Okay.
So, speaking of his login theme, they gave me the violin portion of his login theme and had me learn it and whistle it. So I did a lot of whistled recordings for Jhin because his initial champion concept or design concept was that as he was just kind of walking around the map, he was always going to be either humming or whistling to himself. So they wanted a lot of audio of him whistling his own theme song. So I had to whistle the entire violin part, which is It was really
long.
fucking hard to learn. It was like long and hard to learn.
It's like complex too. At least it's
You gotta choose what you're whistling.
right.
Yeah. And it was so looking at what is still in it, which is 2 incredibly short clips that really don't use any of it, and it's like, and it's almost out of place. Like I kind of feel like I did so much work for it that they felt obligated to put some of it in, even though it really didn't fit with what his new theme was. So they just kind of like threw it in there as.
I think it fits fine.
I wouldn't have mind. You don't even know it was in it.
No, I remember now that he whistles. Once you said that he whistles to himself in the background, I did remember that. I just don't play Jhin very often. It's not something that everybody hears.
Yeah, it's in exactly 2 of his quotes. When the match starts, you have a chance of he will hum to himself, then whistle a little bit of his theme. And when I say a little bit, I mean
It's
like
very little.
3 or 4 notes, and then he'll go back to humming. And if you're a sound designer that worked on this, like I get it. We changed the theme. If you want to remove it because it doesn't fit, I understand. I don't feel bad.
He did do so much. I thought I remembered you at one point saying that they were thinking about having him whistle whenever he like attacks or auto attacks.
He was gonna do it passively all the time.
Man.
Is what it was. It was how it was
constant.
described to me. He would always be humming or whistling, and it's a good idea they didn't do it. That would be
that's
annoying.
annoying.
As hell. It was a good choice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, fun fact about that.
Yeah.
Let's see. High Noon Jin's quotes. A lot of them reference other famous kind of Western movies. He's got the kill Noxians and get paid for it. What's not to like? I like the way you die, boy. And it's better to be above ground doing this than below ground doing nothing. All of which were from Django Unchained references.
Oh, I was like, wow, these do not sound familiar to me, but I've not seen that movie.
People scare better when they're dying, which is a Once Upon a Time in the West reference. You shoot to kill, you better hit the heart, which is a Fistful of Dollars reference. And then it's fun to kill a man, to take all that he had and could ever have, which is an Unforgiven reference.
Neat. Seems like they had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
And actually, that is a quote specifically to Yasuo, which is fun because he's also the Unforgiven.
Oh, interesting.
And finally, Darkstar Jin's taunt has a 1% chance of spawning an astronaut Teemo when he does
God,
it.
No
we have
shit,
to play
really?
Darkstar Jhin from now on,
Oh,
always,
man.
and constantly taunt.
Huh. Neat. Yeah, let's keep a fucking eye out for that.
Yeah. And that's all for this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, for this guy?
But that's all, folks. I get it. 4.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
Any final thoughts on Jhin?
No, I think we've gone through it. He didn't have a ton, I guess. I liked what we had, but a nice flavor story of just Jhin killing somebody would be fun.
Yeah, we like this. If we get, you remember that Cassiopeia story where she like stalks that dude? Mm-hmm. One of those from Jin's perspective.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that is Jhin.
Thanks for joining and listening to us. I know we're getting back in the saddle.
Stopped working.
I just can't do it anymore.
It just stopped working. Like, it didn't know what to say next. Yeah, thank you for listening. We're on Twitter at Loreheads if you ever want to chat there. And we have a Discord now. I'll link it in the description.
And we're going to try and get better at streaming
Regularly.
on some sort of regular cadence. So
I think Saturdays are going to be looking more promising, but sometime over the weekend we would like to. That would be twitch.tv/Beckworm, BEKWORM, because it's my channel. Well, join us next week because we're going back to Arcane, everybody. we had 1 week off, but we are going to talk about the loose cannon Jinx.